The jungle was alive at night. Heavy mist covered the ground, hiding roots and sharp rocks. Strange animals made cries from the dark, some like broken metal, others like deep drums. The air was hot, wet, and full of danger. Through the shadows moved the alien huntress. She was tall, her skin like dark armor, eyes glowing yellow in the dark. Her body was built for war, fast and strong. In her hand was a weapon, humming with deadly power. She moved without sound, every step full of control. She was here for only one reason: to find the human, to kill the human, to bring back the body as proof to her people. They told her the prey was rare. They told her humans were clever, but weak compared to her kind. She had laughed at the warning. After all, she had hunted creatures bigger than this world's beasts. She had broken predators that could tear a soldier in half. One human alone in a jungle was nothing to her, or so she believed. But in the dark, someone else was watching. The human, his clothes torn, face marked with mud, blood on his arm. Yet his eyes were sharp, always moving, always searching. He had been running for 3 days, hiding, escaping her traps. But he was not only running anymore. Now he was thinking. Now he was waiting. The huntress scanned the jungle with her mask. Through the mist, she saw heat signs, glowing shapes of small animals. But no human. She clicked her weapon, checking the charge. She whispered to herself, "Soon, prey, very soon." Behind her, far, but not too far, the human pressed himself into the mud. He had covered his skin with cold, wet earth to hide his heat. He had broken branches in a way that confused her trackers. Every move he made was planned. Every step was a risk. He knew she was stronger, faster, with better weapons. But he also knew the jungle. The jungle was his shield, his knife, his home. The huntress set another trap. A net of red light stretched between the trees, almost invisible. Any movement would make it snap shut like fire. She smiled, sharp teeth showing. But when she came back to check the last trap she had left earlier, it was gone. Not broken by animal claws. Not destroyed by accident. It was cut clean, wires pulled apart by human hands. Her smile faded. For the first time, she felt a small push of doubt. The prey was not just escaping. The prey was fighting her. She stopped listening. Her ears caught a sound, soft and light, like a breath. She turned fast, weapon up. But nothing, only jungle, only mist. Still, she felt it. Eyes on her. She was the hunter. Yes, but in this moment, she felt like prey. The human moved carefully between trees, his breathing slow. He had seen her set the trap. He had seen her smile. He knew she thought she controlled the game. But he was learning her rhythm, her steps, her weakness. He whispered to himself, "Not yet, wait longer." Hours passed. The moonlight was pale, broken by branches. Rain began to fall, heavy drops tapping leaves. The huntress did not rest. She never rested during the hunt. But her mask began to fog. Her weapon hummed louder than she liked. The jungle was testing her, and the human was still alive. She crouched low, scanning once more. She thought she saw movement in the shadows. She fired. A flash of red light split the trees, burning a line into the ground. But when the smoke cleared, there was nothing, only the mark of her mistake. The human watched from above, lying silent on a thick branch. He had learned how far her weapon could reach. He had learned how she moved after she missed. Step left, check mask, curse under her breath. He was building a map of her mind, piece by piece, mistake by mistake. He was waiting for the right moment to strike back. The huntress growled, a sound like thunder in her throat. Her prey was clever. Yes, but he was still only human. She believed no matter how long the game lasted, in the end she would win. She always won. But in the dark, the human smiled. He knew something she did not. She thought she was chasing him. But really, he was leading her deeper, deeper into the heart of the jungle, deeper into his trap. The hunt was not ending. The hunt was only beginning. The jungle never slept. Every night it changed. Every sound was different. The alien huntress moved through the shadows, her mask glowing faint green. She had been hunting for days, yet the human was still alive. This was no longer a chase. This was becoming a test of will. She set her traps carefully. Thin lines of alien wire stretched low across the ground, sharp enough to cut skin. A field of glowing dust sprayed into the air, ready to mark heat signals. And high above, tiny drones floated, scanning every corner of the trees. No prey had ever escaped this net. Not before, not ever. Yet when she checked the first wire, it was gone. Not broken in panic, not snapped by accident, but carefully lifted and tied to a branch so no one would step on it. The human had seen it, touched it, and used it against her. Her eyes narrowed. She felt anger burn inside her chest. She hated prey that refused to act like prey. Far away, hidden under thick vines, the human moved slowly, his body covered in mud and ash, his skin cold and wet. He knew her sensors searched for heat, so he gave them nothing. He stepped only where roots were thick, never leaving a clear print. Every sound he made was hidden under the cries of the jungle. He had learned how to move like the animals, silent, unseen. But his mind was not only on survival. He was learning her. He watched how she walked. He counted how long she took to set each trap. He noticed how her mask blinked when it lost focus. Every mistake was a gift, and he took them all. The huntress stopped near a wide river. The water glowed faint blue from strange plants growing under the surface. She crouched, touching the mud. Her mask showed footprints, but they were wrong. They went in circles, crossing each other, leading nowhere. A trick, a lie. The prey was mocking her. She let out a growl, a sound that shook the water. Then she threw a tracker into the air. It buzzed like a swarm of insects, red lights searching. But above in the branches, the human had already moved. He had thrown stones wrapped in his torn shirt, heated by fire. The tracker followed the false heat, flying in the wrong direction. The huntress cursed in her alien tongue, her anger rising. The jungle answered with thunder. Rain began to fall again, heavy drops hitting the leaves like drums. The huntress moved forward, each step louder now, her patience breaking. Her weapon was ready, but her eyes darted left and right. She felt it. The jungle was closing around her. Something was wrong, very wrong. The human was not running anymore. He was guiding her. Every false trail was placed with care. Every broken branch was a signal. He wanted her to follow, deeper and deeper. And she was following. She could not stop. Her pride would not allow it. She reached a clearing. The trees opened wide, the ground soft with mud. Her mask caught movement, a shape rushing across the field. She fired, her weapon flashing bright red. The shot ripped the jungle floor, smoke rising. But when the smoke cleared, the prey was gone. Only a wooden dummy made from branches, burning. Another trick, her claws tightened around the weapon. This was no ordinary human. This prey was turning the hunt into a game. And she hated games. From the shadows, the human watched her. He saw the fury in her eyes, the sharp breaths she took. He saw her armor scratched from the jungle beasts she had fought. He whispered to himself, "She thinks she hunts me, but I hunt her." The huntress turned fast, her mask scanning. She thought she heard him. A whisper, a laugh carried on the wind. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with something worse, doubt. Doubt in her own skill. For the first time in years, she was unsure. She checked her weapon, the charge half gone. Her drones still circling above, but their lights weak. The jungle was not only her battlefield. It was slowly becoming her prison, and the human was the warden. The rain grew heavier, the clearing filled with water. The huntress moved to higher ground, but just as she climbed, something snapped. A rope of vines pulled tight, a trap hidden in the mud. She leapt back fast, avoiding the full strike. But her arm caught a sharp stake, cutting deep. Blood dark and thick dripped onto the ground. Her roar shook the trees. Her voice echoed into the night. The jungle fell silent, animals running from the sound. The human smiled in the dark. The huntress was bleeding now. The game was changing. She was not the only predator here. The jungle had grown quieter. The storm had passed, leaving steam rising from the wet ground. Mist moved low between the trees, thick like smoke. Every shadow looked alive. Every sound carried weight. The alien huntress stood still, blood drying on her arm. Her wound burned, not deadly, but enough to remind her. This prey was dangerous. Too dangerous for her pride to ignore. She told herself she would finish it tonight, no more games. But the jungle itself felt strange. Everywhere she looked, something was wrong. A broken branch high above. A patch of mud with no animal tracks. And once, in the distance, a shape that looked human, only to vanish when she blinked. The prey was moving differently now. Not fleeing, not hiding, circling, watching. The human had changed his role. For days he had run, bled, and hidden. But he had learned the hunter's rhythm. He knew how often she stopped, when she ate, when she rested her mask. He knew she always aimed left before right. He knew she always searched trees after firing. Patterns. She was a machine of war. Yes, but even machines had patterns, and patterns could be broken. The huntress raised her mask, scanning heat signals. The jungle burned with color. Birds, lizards, insects. But no human. She hissed in frustration. Her prey had vanished. Yet when she turned, she found marks carved into a tree. Not random scratches, but lines shaped into an arrow, pointing deeper. A sign, a message. The prey was leading her. She followed, every step louder than before. Her anger cracked her control. But deep inside, she felt something she hated more than anger. She felt curiosity. Why would a human dare to call her closer? Unless he believed he had a chance. In the shadows, the human watched. His body blended with mud and leaves. He saw her stop at the tree, saw her snarl at the carved arrow. He whispered, "She follows good." He had built this trail carefully, not to escape, but to confuse her mind, to make her wonder, to make her doubt. Because doubt was a weapon sharper than any blade. The huntress reached another trap she had set the day before, a cage of energy buried under roots. But when she checked it, her mask showed it was empty. Only broken wires and burned ground remained. The prey had destroyed it. She growled, claws digging into the dirt. No prey had ever turned her tools against her. But this human had. Night fell again. The jungle grew darker, colder. Her mask flickered, its power fading with each scan. She slammed her weapon against a tree in frustration. The sound echoed, and when the echo died, she heard something else. A whistle, soft, mocking. Human breath. Human voice. Close, too close. She spun, weapon raised. But there was no one. Only the whisper of leaves. Only the endless mist. Above, in the branches, the human smiled. He had learned how far her mask could reach. He had learned how much noise her weapon made when she struck. And now he gave her just enough sound to chase. Al shodov, al whisper, al bres. Always close, always gone. The huntress pressed forward, faster, harder. Her wound burned, her steps heavy, but her pride would not let her stop. She was the predator, she told herself. She was the killer, the strongest, the unstoppable. Yet the jungle told another story. The jungle whispered that she was being led, that she was walking in someone else's trap. Suddenly, her foot struck something sharp, a hidden stake, carved from bone, buried under leaves. It pierced her armor, not deep, but enough to sting. She pulled back, snarling, snapping the trap apart. Her blood dripped again, fresh and hot. The prey had not only hidden, he had built. He was preparing for more. The human crouched low in silence. He had seen her bleed again. He had seen her rage, her mask flicker. He whispered to himself, "She bleeds, she tires, she doubts." Every piece of knowledge gave him strength. Every mistake she made became his weapon. The huntress lifted her head, eyes glowing in fury. She roared into the jungle, a roar that shook trees and scattered birds. "Come out, prey!" she shouted in her alien tongue. "Face me if you dare." But the jungle gave her no answer. Only silence. Only shadows. Then, in the far distance, another carved mark on a tree. This one not an arrow, but a symbol. Two lines crossing, sharp like a blade. A message from the prey. A promise. I am here and I am waiting. For the first time in years, the huntress felt something deep in her chest. Not anger, not hate, but the cold taste of being hunted. The prey was no longer prey. The prey was turning into the predator, and she was walking right into his game. The jungle was never empty. It was alive with teeth and claws, wings and poison. It breathed with the cries of predators and the whispers of prey. And now it belonged to the human. The alien huntress moved forward, her body tense. Her mask scanned left and right, showing heat shapes through the mist. But too many shapes filled her sight. Large animals crawling, flying, waiting in the dark. The jungle itself was watching her. She stepped into a clearing filled with vines. The ground shook softly, as if something large moved under the soil. She lifted her weapon, her eyes sharp, but instead of prey, a roar came from the trees. A massive beast burst out, its skin armored, jaws wide with glowing teeth. It charged not at the human, but at her. The huntress fired, red light cutting across the clearing. The blast tore into the beast, smoke rising. But the animal did not stop. It slammed her back against a tree, claws scratching at her armor. She snarled and stabbed with a blade. Finally, the beast fell, shaking the ground as it died. Blood dripped down her side. She stared at the body, and then she saw it. A rope of vines tied across the trees, cut loose. The beast had not come by accident. The prey had lured it to her. The human, hidden far above, watched silently. He had studied the creatures. He had learned their paths. He knew which ones could be baited, which ones could be enraged. He had turned the jungle's predators into his allies. And now the alien was fighting both him and the wild. The huntress tore free from the dead beast, her chest rising fast. She was strong. She was a warrior, but she was burning energy, wasting weapons, spilling blood. And still, the human remained unseen. She pushed deeper into the jungle. Everywhere she went, danger followed. A swarm of small insect-like creatures rushed from the leaves, their wings sharp like blades. She waved her weapon, blasting fire into the swarm. But they only spread wider, cutting at her skin, biting at her mask. She rolled into the mud, crushing them under her weight. When she rose, her armor was scratched, her weapon dripping with acid from their blood. The human smiled from his hidden perch. He had waited for this moment. He had seen her burn ammo, lose strength. Every trap he set was simple. Vines, mud, stones, fire. But simple things could destroy even advanced hunters. Because the jungle obeyed no technology. The jungle obeyed only survival. The huntress tried to regain control. She set a new trap, wires glowing red across a narrow path. She left it behind, certain the human would fall into it. But when she checked later, the wires were torn. Her own trap had been dragged into a pit she had not noticed. At the bottom lay spikes carved from bone and wood. Her weapon triggered, cut apart by her prey's hands. Her snarl echoed like thunder. She was losing her own war. The human crouched in the shadows, his heart steady. He had no armor, no mask, no glowing weapon. But he had patience. He had the jungle. And he had the mind to turn every vine, every beast, every shadow into a tool. Night fell again, heavy with fog. The huntress found herself in a narrow gorge, walls high and slippery. She realized, too, late it was a trap. A log swung from above, crashing in her side, throwing her to the ground. Another log followed, sharp spikes tied to its front. She rolled just in time, but the spikes grazed her leg, tearing flesh. Her roar of pain shook the gorge. Above, the human whispered, "Now you bleed again." His traps were not only meant to hurt her body. They were meant to break her pride, to show her she was not untouchable, to show her the jungle was against her, to show her that a human, even with nothing, could fight back. The huntress dragged herself from the gorge. Her weapon sparked, its power nearly gone. Her mask flickered, its vision broken by mud and damage. She ripped it off, throwing it into the dirt. Now she relied only on her own eyes. Sharp, yellow, glowing, but less certain than before. She paused under a giant tree, panting. Her blood stained the roots. The jungle seemed to close in around her. She looked up and saw shapes moving in the branches. For a second she thought it was the prey. But no, it was more of the jungle's predators, drawn by the smell of blood. The human watched from the shadows. He saw the truth now. She was strong, yes, but she was not unbreakable. The jungle had begun to tear her apart piece by piece. And all he needed to do was wait. Wait for the perfect strike. Because the hunter was no longer hunting. The jungle itself had joined his side. The jungle no longer felt like a battlefield. It felt like a maze of shadows, a living trap. And for the first time, the alien huntress was not chasing. She was being chased. Her wounds slowed her. Her weapon hummed low, nearly empty. Her mask was gone, left broken in the mud. The jungle whispered around her, every rustle a warning, every shadow a threat. She stopped, her sharp ears catching a sound. Not the roar of a beast, not the cry of a bird. A whistle, soft, human. It came from the left. She turned, weapon raised. But nothing was there. Then the whistle came again, this time from the right. She spun, growling. Again, nothing. The human was playing with her mind. His voice was not a weapon of steel or fire, but it cut deeper, because it told her one truth. He was close. The human had changed. He no longer ran, no longer hid. He moved like a ghost. Silent steps on wet roots. Breathing slow, his body painted with mud and ash. He was part of the jungle now. Invisible, patient, deadly. He followed her trail with ease. Broken branches, drops of blood, heavy footprints. The predator had become clumsy. The prey had become the shadow. The huntress climbed a ridge, her chest burning. She stopped to rest, her claws clutching the stone. But when she looked down, she saw marks carved into the dirt. Not random scratches, but words. Simple human words. I see you. Her heart thumped. She crushed the marks under her boot. But she could not erase the feeling that eyes were on her. Always on her. The human smiled in the dark. He had carved those words hours earlier. He knew she would pass here. He knew she would read them. He knew doubt would spread in her mind like poison. Night fell. The jungle filled with fog. The huntress lit a torch, its flame bright in the dark. But that light betrayed her. Every step she took was easy to see. Her shadow stretched across the trees. And from far above, the human watched every move. He whispered, "Now you glow like prey." She stopped near a fallen log. Her ears caught the snap of a twig. She fired at once, a red beam tearing through the night. The jungle shook with the blast. But when the smoke cleared, there was only a broken branch. No human, only silence. Then she felt it, stones falling from above. She leapt aside as a heavy branch crashed down where she had stood. Her leg caught the edge, pain shooting through her body. She roared, her voice echoing. But the jungle answered only with more silence. More waiting. The human had set the trap hours ago. A branch held by vines, cut loose by his hand at the right moment. He did not need weapons. He needed timing, patience, and fear. The huntress limped forward. Her pride burned hotter than her wounds. But she could not deny the truth. The human was everywhere. Every sound, every shadow, every whisper. She felt him close, yet never saw him. Her mind replayed the warnings she had once laughed at. The elders of her kind had said, "Humans are not the strongest, not the fastest, but they endure. And if they endure long enough, they will hunt you." She had not believed them. Until now, the human crouched on a branch above her. He could hear her heavy breath, smell her blood. He did not strike yet, not until she was broken enough. He wanted her to feel hunted, to know fear, because fear would blind her more than any trap. The torch in her hand flickered. The wind blew, and for a brief second, she thought she saw his shape, eyes glowing faint in the mist. But when she rushed forward, swinging her weapon, the shape was gone. Her torch fell into the mud, its flame dying. Darkness swallowed her. She froze, her chest rising fast. Her ears caught a sound behind her. A whisper. A laugh. Human. She spun and fired. The blast lit the trees in red. But nothing stood there. Only smoke. Only silence again. She fell to her knees, claws digging into the dirt. She had never felt this before. Not against beasts, not against soldiers. The feeling of being prey. The feeling of being hunted by something weaker, yet stronger. Something human. And high above, unseen, the human whispered to himself. She knows now. His eyes shone in the dark, cold and patient. The chase is mine. The jungle had gone silent. No insects called, no beasts moved. Even the wind seemed to stop. It was as if the world itself waited for what was coming. The alien huntress staggered through the mist. Her armor broken, her weapon cracked, her breath sharp and heavy. Blood painted her leg, her arm, her chest. But her eyes still burned with fire. She was wounded, she was hunted, but she was not finished. From the shadows, the human watched her, his body coated with mud, his hands gripping a sharpened spear. His bow was strapped across his back, his arrows carved from bone and stone. He had bled, he had run, but he had endured, and now he stood ready. He stepped from the mist. For the first time in days, he revealed himself. No more hiding, no more whispers. The huntress raised her weapon at once. Her eyes narrowed at the sight of him. Dirty, broken, but standing tall. She hissed at last. The human said nothing. He only lowered into a stance, spear ready. The silence between them was louder than any roar. It was the silence before war. She fired. A red beam cut through the air, hot enough to melt stone. The human rolled aside, the ground exploding where he had stood. He rose fast, his spear flying from his hand. It struck her shoulder, sinking deep. She roared, ripping it free, blood pouring down. But she did not fall. She charged, faster than any beast. Her claws reached for him, sharp enough to tear bone. He ducked, using a fallen log to block. The wood shattered under her strike. He leapt back, pulling his bow. An arrow flew, whistling through the air. It struck her thigh, making her stumble. Her weapon fired again, burning a tree in half. The jungle lit up with fire. Smoke rose, flames crackled. The clearing became a battlefield. Light and shadow danced across their faces. Predator and prey, warrior and survivor, both refusing to break. The huntress slashed again. Her claws scraped his side, blood spilling. The pain shot through him, but he gritted his teeth. He swung a sharpened stone, smashing it into her maskless face. Her head snapped back, her roar shaking the air. She struck him hard, throwing him into the mud. For a moment, he lay still, chest heaving. The huntress raised her weapon, ready to end it. But then she heard it, a snap under her foot. A vinepulad feet. Her eyes widened. The ground broke beneath her. She fell into a pit lined with sharpened stakes. She caught herself at the last moment, claws gripping the edge. But her weapon tumbled down, crashing against the spikes, shattering. Her strongest tool was gone. The human pulled himself up, pain burning his body. He looked down at her, trapped, struggling, bleeding. He raised his last arrow, the tip carved sharp. He could end it now. One shot, one strike, and the huntress would die. But he stopped. His chest rose and fell, his eyes cold but steady. He aimed, then lowered the bow. He said nothing, only stepped back. He left her hanging there, alive, beaten but alive. The huntress pulled herself from the pit, crawling onto the ground. Her breath came in ragged gasps. Her body shook, her pride shattered. She stared at the human, standing tall despite his wounds. And in her yellow eyes, for the first time, there was not hate. There was respect. He turned, disappearing into the mist. The jungle swallowed him. He did not need to kill her, because victory was already his. He had proven himself, not by strength, not by speed, but by will, by patience, by mind. He had turned the hunt against her, and she knew it. The fire burned behind her. The jungle roared again with life. But in her chest, the huntress felt something she had never known before. Fear of prey, fear of a human. The jungle smoldered with smoke. Trees cracked as fire died into ash. The ground was soaked with blood, mud, and rain. The hunt was over, but the story was not. The alien huntress lay against a tree, her body broken, her armor ruined. Her claws dug into the earth, but not with rage this time. With silence, with thought. She stared at the empty mist where the human had vanished. Her breath heavy, her pride in pieces. For the first time in her life, she had not won. She remembered the start, the orders from her people. Bring back the human, prove their weakness. She had laughed then, proud, certain, but now she knew the truth. Humans were not weak. They were not prey. They were something else, something far worse, something far greater. She closed her eyes, her body shaking, not from pain, but from the memory of his eyes. Cold, steady, unbroken. Eyes that belonged not to prey, but to a hunter. Above the jungle, hidden high in the clouds. A ship waited, silent, watching, recording. It had been there since the beginning. Cameras followed every step, every trap, every drop of blood. The huntress had never known, but her people were watching, and now they had seen. They saw her fail. They saw the human endure. They saw the jungle bend to his will. They saw the final moment, when he could have killed, but chose not to. That choice echoed louder than any weapon. Mercy, the most dangerous strength of all. Inside the ship, alien voices whispered. Impossible. A single human, no weapon, no armor, no allies, and still he won. They replayed the images again and again. Every move, every strike, every trick. The story of the hunted human who became the hunter. One voice finally said, if one human can do this, what would many do? The silence that followed was heavy, because they all knew the answer. The galaxy would never be the same. Back in the jungle, the huntress pulled herself to her feet, her body broken, but her spirit forced to change. She whispered into the night, you are no prey. Her voice carried not hatred, but respect. A respect she had never given to any other species. Then she limped away, leaving the battlefield behind. The human stood on a high ridge, unseen. He watched her leave. His chest rose with pain, but his eyes stayed cold. He had no need to follow. He had already won, not with brute force, not with weapons, but with patience, with the jungle, with his will. He whispered to himself, let her remember. He turned and walked deeper into the forest. The mist swallowed him once more. To the jungle. He was not an intruder anymore. He was part of it. Silent, unseen, untouchable. Far above, the ship's engines hummed. It turned, carrying the story back to the stars. Back to a waiting empire that had believed humans were weak. Now they would know. Now the whole galaxy would know. The human had survived the hunt. The human had turned the predator into prey. And worse for the galaxy, the human had done it alone.